Look, most people think that Dobermans are too hard to own because they're too intense, they're too high energy, or maybe just a little intimidating, but that's not the problem with the Doberman. The real reason Dobermans are harder to own than you think has nothing to do with how they behave, but it has everything to do with how you behave. Because this is one of the only dog breeds that doesn't just live with you, it studies you, it reads you, and whether you realize it or not, it starts to mirror you. Your habits, your inconsistencies, even your stress. And if you're not aware of that, if you're not in control of that, this breed will expose it. And once you understand that about the Doberman, everything that's unique or strange or weird about this breed suddenly makes a whole lot more sense. This is what makes this breed unlike any other dog breed on this planet. The expectation versus reality. So many people say that Dobermans are so difficult to own because of, their size, their energy, but these traits aren't the real issue that truly makes these dogs so difficult for so many owners. The real challenge with the Doberman is something most people never even consider when they're going into it, and that's the mental and emotional complexity of this very unique dog, combined with how deeply this breed is connected to you as the owner. This is not a breed that just exists in your home and automatically adapts around your lifestyle like other breeds do. The Doberman is unique. They're constantly observing, they're processing, and they're responding to what's happening around them at all times, especially when it comes to their owner. Now, unfortunately, this is a major wake-up call to a lot of owners when they get their first Doberman, and it throws everything else out of control and leads to Dobermans going to shelters and owners just tossing up their hands, completely overwhelmed. The Velcro problem. Dobermans are what people call Velcro dogs, but I don't think most people fully understand what that actually means. It doesn't just mean they like to be near you physically. It means they orient their entire world around you. They watch where you go, how you move, how you react to things, and even how you feel in different situations. And they use that information to decide how they should respond. This is a strong breed trait, deeply ingrained in their DNA from their original creation as the only breed meant to protect humans from other humans. And that level of human focus is exactly what made them so effective at protecting its human. But in a modern household, that same trait means they are constantly tuned into you at a level that most owners just aren't prepared for. Not only are they watching, but for such a tough-looking dog, they're highly sensitive to it too. The emotional sensitivity, the big one. And this is where it starts to get really interesting. Dobermans are extremely sensitive to these observations, to your tone, your body language, and your emotional consistency. And not just, obvious things like when you're yelling or you're upset, but subtle things like frustration, uncertainty, stress, and inconsistency in your reactions. There's actually research published on nature.com's scientific reports showing that dogs can mirror long-term stress levels from their owners at a biological level, meaning that if you're stressed or anxious or inconsistent over time, your dog is quite literally absorbing that and reflecting it back in their behavior. And certainly an ultra human focused breed like a Doberman, they're probably way more affected by this than just the average dog. So when people say their Doberman is anxious, reactive, or too much, a lot of times what they're actually seeing is a reflection of what's happening in their own environment or in their own behavior. And this is where the difficulty comes in, because now the training isn't just about the dog anymore, it's about you. And that's not how most breeds operate. Now, real quick, while we're on the topic of how much Dobermans are, constantly responding to you and their environment, I really want to tell you about our sponsor and why they're our sponsor. Because what you're feeding your Doberman every single day actually plays a bigger role in all of this than most people even realize. Dobermans are super sensitive dogs, so please don't feed them junk. Because when you got a dog that's this tuned in, this sensitive, this mentally engaged all the time, what you put into their body is huge. And that foundation, that affects their energy, their focus, how they recover after stimulation. and even just how stable they feel day to day. And that's exactly why Doberman owners are switching over to Ollie in droves now, and why we chose them to be our sponsor. Ollie makes fresh human-grade meals for your Doberman that are formulated with veterinary nutritionists, and their meals are portioned specifically for your dog's age, their weight, their activity level. So you're not just guessing or just feeding, something generic. Your Doberman is getting top of the line food. Ollie's really becoming huge in the Doberman world right now. And we were trying to build that kind of structure and consistency that we're talking about in this video, and what we always talk about on this channel. You're obsessing over basically every little thing your Doberman does and feels. And having that nutritional baseline dialed into this level, it just makes everything easier. Seriously, check it out. You can get 60% off your first box by using the coupon code DobermanPlanet at checkout. And the cool thing about that code is, by the way, it gets you the top discount no matter what it is right now. So just scan that QR code on your screen if you're watching from Smart TV, or just tap the link down below from any other device, and it'll also drop you straight in on this deal. It's pretty awesome. The intelligence trap. Dobermans are ranked among the most intelligent dog breeds in the world, consistently placing near the top in working and obedience intelligence. And honestly, most people hear that and they think that, oh, this dog must be easier to train. But the reality can be the exact opposite for many people. It actually makes the Doberman harder to train in many ways. A highly intelligent dog doesn't just learn what you want. They also learn what you allow. They learn your patterns, your inconsistencies, your hesitations, and every little gap in your structure. So instead of blindly following commands, they start evaluating situations. They ask themselves, do I need to listen right now? Is this consistent with what usually happens? Is this person confident or unsure? And that's why traditional, repetitive, command-based training often really does fall short with this breed, because they're not just responding to commands. They're reading context. It's pretty impressive. And that's exactly why longtime dog owners who have had plenty of successes with other breeds can easily fail when they get their first Doberman. They're a completely different animal. What happens without structure? Anxiety, not dominance. This is one of the biggest misconceptions about Dobermans. When your Doberman starts showing behaviors like being overly alert, reactive, pushy, or hard to manage, most people just assume that dog is trying to be dominant. But in reality, what's usually happening is anxiety. That's because without clear structure, without consistent leadership and predictable patterns in their environment, Dobermans become really uncertain. And that uncertainty shows up as overreaction, over alertness, or what many people interpret as attitude. In other words, the dog isn't trying to control the situation, they're trying to make sense of it. This is why Dobermans need such clear and consistent leaders to truly thrive. Why other dogs feel easier. Okay, this is a big one. If you've owned other breeds before, especially something like a Labrador or a Golden Retriever, this is where a lot of confusion happens, because those breeds are much more forgiving. You can be inconsistent at times, you can be a little unclear, and they'll usually just brush it off and move on. But Dobermans don't do that. They notice it, they store it in that brain of theirs, and they respond to it, which is exactly why so many experienced dog owners get a Doberman and suddenly feel like they don't know what they're doing anymore. Guys, it's not that they're bad owners. In fact, they're often incredibly experienced owners with other breeds. It's just that this breed is operating at a different level. It's something they're not used to training, they're not used to working with, and they're certainly not used to living with on a day-to-day basis. The real skill, higher level training. Okay, all of what you heard about how they're thinking on this higher level and how that can make them so hard to own, this is why training a Doberman effectively is less about commands and more about teaching them how to navigate this world. Remember this. This is key with this breed. It's about creating structure in your daily life and giving them clear expectations, teaching them how to navigate and reset throughout the day, where to anchor throughout the day, and how to move through different environments with confidence. Yes, commands, of course, they matter, but what matters far more for a Doberman specifically is the flow of your day, your consistency, your clarity, and your emotional stability, because that's what they're actually responding to. You train a Doberman how to exist and how to think. You don't train them solely on commands. And that's the difference between the Doberman and so many other breeds out there. So when people say that Dobermans are harder to own, They're right, but not for the reason that most people think. They're not harder because they're, aggressive or out of control or reactive or too much dog. They're harder because they demand more from you, the owner. More awareness, more consistency, more presence, and definitely more emotional control. And if you can meet that standard, they become one of the most incredible dogs that you will ever own. If you're thinking about getting a Doberman or you already have one and some of this is, starting to click for you, let us know in the comments right down below. And if you want to learn how to actually build that higher level structure and communication with your Doberman step by step, make sure you're subscribed to us and check out these videos that are about to pop up on your screen, because that's exactly what we focus on here at Doberman Planning. Remember, with the Doberman, it's not just commands and behaviors. It's about teaching them how to think and how to exist. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take great care of your Dobies.